Drop everything and help you out? Sure, I got you. I want to start this post by saying yes. I know I should have gotten fired for this. And I do not recommend doing this in any service industry job. This happened several years ago. While I was working as a waitress at a chain restaurant, there was this insane manager whom I had to work with on several occasions. She was young and thought she knew everything, was quite trashy, and was sleeping with one of the higher UPS, who was married, whose wife also worked at the same restaurant, but that's a different story. This manager, let's call her Mindy, was always on my ass about everything. I was one of the few shift lead servers who knew what they were doing, knew how to make the restaurant money, and had many customers write great reviews and say wonderful things about me. I knew how to do my job and I knew how to do it well. Mindy always singled me out for things when things weren't even my fault. I would always just take it because it wasn't worth my energy fighting about it. She was the only person in the whole restaurant that I did not get along with. I had a great rapport with the bartenders, servers, cooks, back of house staff, and other managers. One day I came in to start my shift but was quickly pulled into the manager's office by a different manager. He wanted to bring it to my attention that Mindy had stated on my past shift that I was on my phone and not working hard. This was not true. I never carried my phone on me because it was a distraction. I didn't have room in my apron. My jeans did not have pockets. And, honestly, I didn't want to have it on me. I mentioned this to the manager, and he gave me the benefit of the doubt but said he was going to keep an eye on me. As cell phone use had been becoming a major problem with several of the servers and bartenders in the past few months. One shift a few days after that was busy. I had a full section and was sat with a party of 12 who all ordered beverages from the bar with water. I grab a tray, fill up the water, and hand the glassware to the service bar in the kitchen area. Once all the drinks were on the tray, I slowly started to lift it to get it situated. As it was heavy, Mindy decided this was the best time to yell at me and tell me she needed me to run the food that was up at the expo line, where she was standing and expediting the food. I took a second to look over at two other servers who were leaning against the wall, much closer to her, on their phones. I said, "I'm a little busy. Can someone else help?" She snapped back at me and said, "I told you to do it, so you need to do it now." At that moment, I honestly didn't even care anymore. So, I looked her dead in the eyes, smiled, said, "Okay," and literally dropped the tray of drinks I was holding on the ground. Walked over the broken glass, crushing the cups under my feet, grabbed the plates of food, and asked her where they were going while keeping the smile on. The look of horror on her face, the phone-dwelling servers' faces, and the cooks' faces were quite priceless. Once I delivered the food, I went to my party of 12 and apologized to them and told them I dropped the tray of their drinks, and I'd be right back with a new one, still with that smile on my face. Once my shift was over, Mindy pulled me into the office and explained what I did was not okay, and she was going to write me up for it. So I had to sign a document stating I understood why I was being written up and I refused to sign it before speaking with other management. There was much more discussed in this conversation, but I can narrow it all down. She said I would be fired if I didn't sign the write-up document at that exact moment. I still refused and said I would speak with the GM about it tomorrow morning. On my next shift, the next morning I explained to the GM what had happened and stated that I was working, while others were on their phones. But Mindy singled me out. I also asked him to check the cameras to see the incident take place. And might I say, it was so satisfying to physically see myself drop everything. After lots of discussion, the GM said there's no problem here, ripped up the write-up, and told me to continue being the hard worker I am, And I never had to work with Mindy again. The end. Something tells me your GM wanted her gone and your compliance gave them just the right amount of leverage to oust her. Lol. Sometimes you just have to do the dramatic thing. Way back when I was a server, a crazy, high chef started screaming at me to pick up my orders from the window. But I didn't have any orders coming. And the prime rib dinners he was holding were not mine. I told him so. And he shouted that I could just get the F out of his kitchen and literally threw the 2 plates across the kitchen at me, barely missing my head. They shattered on the wall behind me, covering me with au jus. Shaking, I took my tray, which had a couple of desserts on it, along with my checkbook and checks for a few tables, walked over to the trash bin and pitched the whole tray inside, grabbed my purse and coat and walked out and drove home. Next day the chef called to apologize and begged me to come back. I did, since I liked the place and the money was good. Worked a few more months until I got accepted into grad school and left the state. Was it advisable? No. Was it delicious? Yes. She was young and thought she knew everything, was quite trashy, and was sleeping with one of the higher UPS, who was married, whose wife also worked at the same restaurant, but that's a different story. I believe the proper way to handle it is, I think it's so cool that you're in an open relationship. There's no way I would feel secure enough to let my boyfriend sleep with another member of the staff. If she's actually okay with it, you've demonstrated respect for her decisions. And if she's not, well, she can hardly blame you for praising her. Well played. It's not often that you can override an asshat manager. So, did Mindy get transferred or something? Did she just stop talking to you after that? Mindy doesn't sound like the kind of person who would stop singling you out just like that. Great story though. The Mindy project was a giant failure. Hashtag never, never, never sign anything on the spot. And I never had to work with Mindy again. When? Oh, how I wish Mindy was let go. But I guess that's too much to expect. Musical notes. I'm living in an empty room. Musical notes with all the windows smashed. Musical notes, and I've got so little left to lose. Musical notes that it feels just like I'm walking on broken glass. I kinda want to hear that other story. You should not have been fired or this. Standing up for yourself against a harassing manager is the right thing to do. I hope you told the dude's wife who her husband was cheating with. Your only mistake, dropping the tray instead of waiting for her to grab your arm and disturb your balance, which would have put the tray dropping directly on her. Did Mindy get upset when the restaurant changed pest control providers so the Orkin man no longer stopped by? Absolutely. Drop me a message and I'll be there to lend a helping hand. We're all in this together. Open mouth smile handshake biceps. Great stuff. Now I want to hear the other story. You know, Mindy and the boss. The OP was all that and a bag of chips. Good on the op NTA. Week ending. So Mindy was sleeping with the GM? So, Mindy was porking Mork? Corporate restaurant chains or where douchey managers go to die. Should have just Mindy her own business.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.